The first thing Dr. Maya Henderson noticed was the way the flight attendant looked at her. Like she didn't belong there. First class, seat 2A. She clutched her boarding pass tighter. It was 2025, and still, here we were. Maya had flown hundreds of times. As a renowned neurosurgeon, her career took her all over the world. Conferences in Berlin, lectures in Tokyo, surgeries in Johannesburg. She was used to luxury, tailored suits, designer luggage, platinum frequent flyer cards. What she wasn't used to, no matter how high she climbed, was being challenged simply for existing where some people thought she didn't belong. Today, she was flying from Atlanta to Los Angeles to accept an award, a Lifetime Achievement Honor from the International Medical Association. It was a big deal. Cameras would be there, journalists too. She smiled to herself, feeling proud as she settled into her first-class seat, just as a man in a crisp pilot's uniform walked past. He gave her a once-over, frowned. Maya felt it immediately. Here we go again, she thought. Minutes later, as she sipped her water, the same pilot, Captain James Whitaker, according to the badge, approached her seat with a tight smile. "Ma'am," he said, voice dripping with artificial politeness, "I'm going to need to see your ticket." Maya blinked. "Excuse me, your ticket?" He repeated louder, as if she were slow. Around her, other passengers in first class turned to watch. She could feel their stares slicing into her skin. She took a slow breath and handed over her boarding pass. Captain Whitaker studied it for a long moment, as if searching for a flaw. Then he looked her in the eyes and smirked. "This must be a mistake," he said. "I'm going to ask you to move to economy." The words hit Maya like a slap. "This is my assigned seat," she said, voice steady. "First class 2A, paid in full." "I find that hard to believe," he said. "I find that hard to believe." Maya's hands tightened into fists, but she refused to raise her voice. Instead, she said coolly, "Is there a problem with the manifest? Because if not, I suggest you let me be." Captain Whitaker straightened, his face turning red. "I don't like your attitude," he snapped. "You either move or you leave this plane." A gasp rippled through the cabin. Maya stood up, slowly, deliberately, towering over the stunned pilot. "Fine," she said. "I'll leave." She gathered her bag and walked down the aisle, head held high, past whispering passengers. Some looked away in shame. Others glared openly. She didn't care. If they thought this was over, they didn't know Maya Henderson. Maya didn't storm to the gate. She didn't scream or cry. Instead, she calmly pulled out her phone and made a call. "Dr. Henderson?" said the voice on the other end. "It's me," she said. "We've got a situation. Flight 827, Atlanta to Los Angeles. I need you to handle it." "Understood, doctor." She smiled grimly. You see, what Captain Whitaker didn't know, what no one on that plane knew, was that Maya wasn't just a neurosurgeon. She also sat on the board of directors for that very airline. And she personally knew the CEO. Back on the plane, Captain Whitaker was smugly chatting with the flight attendants. "People these days think a credit card and some designer clothes are enough to waltz into first class," he said, laughing. The flight attendant, a young woman named Carla, shifted uncomfortably. "Are you sure that was the right call?" she asked. "She showed you her ticket." Whitaker waved her off. "You gotta know your place in this world, Carla. Trust me. She's probably flying on points or something." He chuckled to himself and strolled back to the cockpit, feeling powerful, until a crackle came over the plane's PA system. "Captain Whitaker, please report to the gate immediately." Frowning, he marched off the plane. At the gate, a small crowd had gathered. Passengers craned their necks to see what was going on. Standing there, arms crossed, was Dr. Maya Henderson. Next to her, 2 airline executives and 3 security officers. Captain Whitaker opened his mouth to speak, but one of the executives, a woman in a sharp navy suit, cut him off. "Captain Whitaker, you're relieved of duty immediately. Hand over your badge and credentials." "What?" he sputtered. "I was doing my job." "No," the executive said icily. "You were discriminating against a paying first-class passenger." A board member, no less. The color drained from Whitaker's face. The passengers who had been eavesdropping gasped audibly. "This is a misunderstanding," he tried. The executive pointed at Maya. "You publicly humiliated Dr. Henderson based on nothing but your assumptions. There is zero tolerance for that in this company." Maya watched in silence as Whitaker was led away, his face white with shock. For a moment, just a flicker, he glanced back at her. She met his eyes, and without saying a word, she said everything. "Flight 827, take 2. 10 minutes later, Maya boarded a different flight, this time with even more deference. "Welcome aboard, Dr. Henderson," the new captain said, smiling warmly. Passengers in first class shifted awkwardly as she passed. Some even stood to apologize. But Maya didn't need their guilt. She settled into 2A again, pulled out her book, and opened it calmly. Above her, the intercom crackled. "This is your captain speaking. I would like to personally apologize to one of our most distinguished passengers, Dr. Maya Henderson, for the earlier inconvenience. We are honored to have her aboard." There it was. Not revenge, not rage, just respect. Long overdue. The story went viral before her plane even landed. By the time she touched down in Los Angeles, news outlets were already running headlines. "Airline pilot suspended after racial discrimination incident." Board member Dr. Maya Henderson speaks out. "We still have work to do." On social media, hashtags exploded. Hashtag know your place. Hashtag flying while black. Hashtag Maya Henderson. Hashtag accountability now. At her awards ceremony that night, Maya didn't mention the incident in her speech. She didn't need to. Her life, her success, her presence was enough. But later, in a private interview, when a journalist asked her about the flight, she leaned in and said, "I know exactly where my place is, at the head of the table." Captain Whitaker faced an internal review. His flying license was suspended indefinitely. The airline issued a formal apology, and new training protocols were implemented across the company to prevent such discrimination from happening again. Meanwhile, Dr. Maya Henderson kept soaring. Above the clouds, beyond the limits others tried to place on her. Because knowing your place doesn't mean accepting someone else's idea of your worth. It means knowing your power, and never letting anyone take it from you. "I know exactly where my place is, at the head of the table." And now, the real question is, in a world that still judges by appearances, when will everyone finally know their place, on the side of justice and respect? What would you have done if you were in her shoes?